started with a phone call. Richard's voice came through the line, crackling but unmistakably smug. "I sold your mother's worthless restaurant," he said, as if it were some kind of victory. My grip on the phone tightened, my free hand curling into a fist so tight, I thought my nails might break skin. "Finally got rid of that money pit," he added, his tone dripping with satisfaction. The words hit me like a punch to the chest. The Golden Lotus wasn't just a restaurant. It was Mom's life, her legacy. And now Richard, my stepfather, the man who'd been in control since Mom passed away 2 years ago, had sold it without even consulting me. "You had no right, Richard," I shot back, pacing my tiny Chicago apartment. "That place was Mom's everything." "Oh, Emma," he sighed, sharp and dismissive. "Your mother's been gone for 2 years. It's time to let go of these silly sentiments. The place was hemorrhaging money. I did everyone a favor." His words stung, not because they weren't partially true. The restaurant had struggled after Mom died, but because of the way he said them. Like the Golden Lotus was nothing more than a liability, a burden to be shed. To him it was just land value, an asset to liquidate. But to me, it was the last tangible piece of Mom I had left. At 32, I was already living a life far removed from the one I'd grown up in. I was an architect now, designing sleek buildings in Chicago, while the memory of folding dumplings at the age of 5 in Mom's kitchen faded further into the past. But that didn't mean I'd forgotten. How could I? The Golden Lotus wasn't just where Mom built her business after immigrating from China with nothing but determination and her grandmother's recipes. It was where she taught me about resilience, creativity, and family. "How much?" I demanded, stopping mid-pace. My voice sounded colder than I intended, but I didn't care. "How much did you sell it for?" Richard laughed, sharp and cutting. "Does it really matter? The place was worthless, just like your mother's cooking." My breath hitched. Mom's cooking wasn't perfect. It was messy, experimental, full of heart, but it wasn't worthless. Not to me, not to the customers who used to pack the place every weekend, not to the community that had grown around it. "The land value was all anyone cared about," Richard continued, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. I closed my eyes, trying to steady myself. I could picture Mom in the kitchen, her hands moving with practiced grace as she prepared her signature dishes. The restaurant had struggled after she died, yes, but I'd had a plan. A revival plan. I just needed more time. "You're not even going to tell me the sale price?" I asked again, my voice quieter this time but no less firm. "Why should I?" Richard replied. "Your mother left everything to me. I'm the executor of her estate. You're just the daughter who abandoned the family business to become a fancy architect in Chicago." His words hit their mark and guilt surged through me. He was right, I had left. 5 years ago, I moved to Chicago to chase my dreams, promising myself I'd return someday to modernize the restaurant while preserving its soul. But then cancer took Mom, leaving Richard in charge. And now he'd sold the restaurant without giving me a chance to say goodbye. "I'm coming home," I said firmly, cutting off whatever else he was about to say. "Don't do anything else until I get there." He scoffed. "Don't bother. The papers are signed. The deal is done. Focus on your little buildings and leave the real business decisions to me." The call ended before I could respond. Without hesitation, I booked the next flight to San Francisco. The flight gave me too much time to think. I scrolled through old photos on my phone, each one a reminder of what I was losing. There was Mom on opening day, beaming in front of the restaurant's freshly painted sign. Me as a teenager, begrudgingly wearing the restaurant uniform but secretly proud of the praise our food received. And the last picture we ever took together. Both of us laughing as she tried to teach me her secret dumpling recipe. She'd said something mischievous that day, something that stuck with me. "You have to discover for yourself, my little architect." When the Uber pulled up to the Golden Lotus, I felt a lump rise in my throat. The sold sign hung prominently in the window, mocking me. The dragon logo, hand-painted by a friend of Dad's when they first opened, seemed to watch me reproachfully. I unlocked the door and stepped inside, breathing in the lingering scents of soy sauce, ginger, and jasmine tea. The dining room was dark, the tables bare. But Mom's wall of photos still hung intact, though dust had begun to settle. I ran my fingers along the edges of the frames, tracing memories I wasn't ready to let go of. "I told you not to come," Richard's voice startled me. I turned to see him leaning against the kitchen doorway, his silver hair perfectly styled despite the early hour. He'd always been about appearances. That's what first attracted Mom to him. After Dad died when I was 10, Richard seemed like a stable choice. Successful, charming. But the charm had faded years ago. It's still my mother's restaurant, I said, running a hand along one of the tables. I have a right to say goodbye. It stopped being your mother's restaurant when she left it to me, he replied, straightening his designer tie. The new owners are turning it into a juice bar. At least the property will finally turn a profit. A juice bar. Mom would have laughed at the irony. You could have consulted me, I said bitterly. I have plans to renovate, modernize. Your architectural plans? Richard scoffed. This isn't one of your design projects, Emma. It was a failing business. I made a business decision. How much? I pressed again, refusing to let it go. He shrugged. 1.2 million. Mostly for the land. My breath caught. The restaurant was worth twice that. You undersold it. I sold it for what the market would bear, he said, checking his Rolex. The new owners arrived this afternoon. You should be gone by then. Something in his tone made me suspicious. What's the rush? The sale's done, right? Let me at least look around. His jaw tightened. Fine. You have an hour. But stay out of the storage room. It's already been cleared out. As soon as he left, I headed straight for the storage room. The door was locked, which struck me as odd. Mom never locked it. After trying several keys, one finally clicked. The room was nearly empty, but something felt off. Scratches on the floor. Different colored patches on the walls where shelving had been removed. And then, a glint of metal near the baseboard. A handle. I ran my fingers along the wall, feeling a faint seam in the paneling. Pressing experimentally, I heard a soft click, and the panel swung open. Behind it was a small safe. My phone buzzed. A text from Lucy, my best friend. Asterisk, heard about the restaurant. You okay? Want to get lunch? Asterisk. I typed back quickly. Asterisk, rain check. Need a favor. Can you come to the Golden Lotus? Bring your toolkit. Asterisk. Lucy had worked in historic renovations for years. If anyone could open the safe, it was her. More importantly, I needed a witness. Be there in 20, she replied. Don't do anything fun without me. In those 20 minutes, I photographed every inch of the storage room, noting inconsistencies. Mom had been meticulous. She wouldn't have hidden something here without a reason. When Lucy arrived, toolkit in hand, she whistled at the sight of the safe. Well, well, she said. Looks like Aunt Helen had some secrets. Can you open it? I asked. Old but simple, she said, examining it. Give me 10 minutes. Better if you don't watch. Plausible deniability. While she worked, I paced the kitchen, my mind racing. What had Mom hidden? Why hadn't she told me about it? Then voices. Richard was back, and he wasn't alone. Lucy, I hissed. Company's coming. Perfect timing, she whispered. It's open. She handed me a thick envelope and an old leather notebook just as the front door opened. Quick, she urged. Back door. I slipped out into the alley just as Richard's voice echoed through the restaurant. Heart pounding, I drove to my rented apartment and sat at the small table, finally pulling out the envelope and notebook. The envelope was sealed with wax. The notebook was filled with Mom's elegant handwriting. Not recipes, but what looked like a diary. My phone buzzed. Another text from Lucy. Asterisk, Richard and company gone. Safe closed up tight. They'll never know we were there. Call me when you read that. Asterisk. I took a deep breath and broke the wax seal. Several documents slipped out, along with a letter addressed to me. My dearest Emma, it began. Asterisk, if you're reading this, then you've found what I hid. And if you found it, it's time you knew the truth about the Golden Lotus, about your father, and why I really married Richard. Asterisk. I stared at the letter, trembling. This was only the beginning. The letter trembled in my hands as I sat at the small table in my rented apartment. Lucy beside me with a glass of wine and takeout container spread out like an offering. You shouldn't read life-altering family secrets on an empty stomach, she'd said when she arrived. Her voice light but her eyes sharp with concern. I managed a weak smile. How do you know they're life-altering? Please, Lucy shot back. unpacking noodles and dumplings that smelled faintly of home. Your mom was the most meticulous person I knew. If she hid something in a secret safe, it's not her dumpling recipe. She wasn't wrong. Mom didn't hide things lightly, or without purpose. Whatever was in this envelope and notebook was important enough for her to go to great lengths to protect. Taking a deep breath, I began reading aloud. My dearest Emma, asterisk if you're reading this, it means you've discovered what I hoped you would. Your father always said you had my curiosity and his determination. He was right. Asterisk. I paused, swallowing hard. Even after all these years, hearing Mom reference Dad felt like stepping into a memory I hadn't realized I'd forgotten. He died when I'd been just 10 years old, leaving behind only fragments, a laugh, a stern look over homework, the way he used to whistle while balancing the books late at night. Asterisk, there's so much I couldn't tell you while I was alive, partly to protect you, but mostly because of the promises I made. The Golden Lotus isn't just a restaurant. It never was. Asterisk. Lucy raised an eyebrow. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Your father and I built it as a cover for something much more valuable, something Richard has been searching for since the day he entered our lives. A cover? Lucy echoed. For what? Money laundering? Spy stuff? I shook my head, scanning ahead. Let me keep going. Asterisk, your father worked for an international task force tracking stolen art and artifacts. The Golden Lotus was his masterpiece. A perfect front for protecting priceless treasures until they could be safely returned to their rightful owners. Asterisk. Lucy nearly dropped her chopsticks. Wait, are you saying your dad was some kind of art detective? It sounds like it. I murmured, my pulse quickening. This was nothing like the quiet accountant I remembered. But then again, maybe it explained why he'd always seemed so preoccupied, why his briefcase had sometimes disappeared for days at a time. Asterisk, the night he died wasn't an accident. He discovered someone was using San Francisco's restaurant scene to smuggle stolen artifacts. He got too close. Asterisk. Oh my God, Lucy whispered. So Richard. He must have known. I interrupted, my voice shaking. Mom suspected him, but she couldn't prove it. That's why she married him, to keep her enemies close and to protect whatever Dad died trying to safeguard. Lucy stared at me wide-eyed. Your mom was a secret badass. I turned the page, my hands trembling. What followed were detailed drawings, architectural plans of the Golden Lotus unlike any I'd ever seen. Secret compartments were marked throughout the building. Almost impossible to find unless you knew exactly where to look. Asterisk, the safe you found is just the beginning. It's a decoy meant to be discovered. The real treasure is still hidden. But you'll need your architectural expertise to find it. Your father designed a hiding place, but I redesigned it after his death. Look where the dragon's tail meets the rising sun. Asterisk. The mural. I gasped, remembering the massive painting that covered the entire back wall of the main dining room. Dad's friend painted it when they first opened. I ate countless meals beneath it, never knowing that it held your parents' greatest secret, Lucy finished for me. She grabbed her coat. We need to get back there before the renovation starts. Wait, I said, holding up the rest of the papers. There were bank statements, old photographs, and documents written in languages I didn't recognize. One photo caught my eye. Richard, 20 years younger, standing with a group of men outside another restaurant. I recognized one of them. He'd been arrested recently for art trafficking. Mom married him to investigate him. I murmured, realization dawning. 15 years of playing the devoted wife while gathering evidence. These records could expose his entire operation, Lucy said darkly. No wonder he wants to sell the restaurant so fast. My phone buzzed. A text from Richard. Asterisk, where are you? We need to talk. Asterisk. He must have checked the safe, I said. He knows we found it. Lucy stood, grabbing her contractor's toolkit. Then we need to move fast. The new owners don't take possession until next week. That gives us tonight to find whatever your mom hid. The drive to the Golden Lotus was tense. Every pair of headlights in my rearview mirror looked like Richard's BMW. When we arrived, the restaurant was dark, but my keys still worked. The dragon mural loomed over the back wall, its sinuous body winding through stylized clouds, its tail curling around a rising sun. Lucy ran her hands along the wall, her professional interest piqued. The surface feels uniform. Whatever's hidden here, it's sophisticated work. I studied Mom's drawings again. Look where the dragon's tail meets the rising sun. I'd been focusing on the mural itself, but what if? I turned toward the front windows, where the actual sun would rise each morning. At the right angle, the first rays would hit the dragon's tail exactly where Lucy's tools had detected a hollow space. The light, I realized. It's about the light. I pulled out my phone, adjusting its flashlight until it hit a nearly invisible crystal embedded in the wall. A soft click echoed, and a hidden panel swung outward, revealing a metal box inside. We need to go. Now. Lucy's voice turned urgent as car lights flashed outside. Through the window, Richard's BMW parked. He wasn't alone. Back door, Lucy whispered. Now. We slipped into the kitchen just as the front door opened. Check everywhere, Richard ordered. She must have found something. Lucy and I exchanged glances. The back door would creak, it always had. Mom used to joke it was a built-in alarm system. Footsteps approached. It was now or never. I pointed to the walk-in freezer. Mom had insisted on an expensive model with an emergency exit, something I'd never questioned until now. We slipped inside, and I felt along the back wall until my fingers found the hidden latch. The panel hissed open, revealing the alley. We were halfway to my car when shouts erupted behind us. Drive, Lucy ordered as we jumped in. I navigated the dark streets, making random turns to shake any tail. We need a secure place to open this, Lucy said, nodding toward the box in her lap. I know a place, she replied. A renovation project. Empty until next month. State-of-the-art security. In the silent, unfinished library of a Pacific Heights mansion, I placed the box on a workbench. The top was engraved with Chinese characters. It's a poem, I whispered, tracing the strokes. Mom used to recite it when she taught me calligraphy. Lucy examined the sides. These grooves. It's a puzzle box. Mom's voice echoed in my mind. Asterisk, not just the meaning, Emma. The movement matters too. Asterisk. My fingers trembled as I followed the correct stroke order. Click, click. Finally, the lid lifted, revealing a jade Buddha nestled in protective foam. Lucy exhaled. Is that? The jade Buddha of peace, I breathed. Stolen from a temple in China 50 years ago. A letter lay beside it. Asterisk, Emma, by now you know the truth. Your father died protecting this artifact from those who would sell our history to the highest bidder. The proof of their crimes is hidden in this box lining. Everything your father uncovered, plus my own evidence from 15 years of marriage to a criminal. Take it to Detective Sandra Chun at the SFPD Art Crimes Unit. She worked with your father. She'll know what to do. Asterisk. All my love, Mom. My phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. Asterisk, you have something that belongs to my organization. Let's discuss terms. Asterisk. Lucy looked at me. Richard's playing his hand. I nodded. What's our move? I straightened, feeling the weight of my parents' legacy. We play the game better. The weight of the jade Buddha in its protective foam felt heavier than it should, as though it carried not just centuries of history, but the culmination of my parents' sacrifices. Detective Sandra Chen's office at the SFPD Art Crimes Unit was smaller than I'd imagined, but every inch of wall space told a story. Photos of recovered artifacts hung alongside newspaper clippings and commendations, each one a testament to victories won against the thieves who sought to erase cultural legacies for profit. But it was the old photograph behind her desk that stopped me cold. My father, Henry Chin, stood younger and smiling, next to a rookie Detective Chun at what looked like a crime scene. Henry was one of the best, she said quietly, noticing my gaze. We always suspected his accident wasn't random, but we could never prove it. Her words sent a chill down my spine. Mom had hinted at this in her letter, but hearing it confirmed made the loss feel fresh again. Now, Chun continued, nodding toward the jade Buddha resting securely on her desk, we might finally have the proof we need. There's more, I said, pulling out the USB drive Lucy and I had found embedded in the lining of the puzzle box. 15 years of evidence my mom gathered while married to Richard. Chin's eyes widened as she scrolled through the files. bank transfers, photos, recorded conversations, all meticulously documented by Mom over the course of her double life. "Your mother was thorough," she murmured, her voice tinged with awe. "This is an ironclad case. But will it be enough?" Lucy asked from her position by the door. She'd insisted on coming, reminding us both that we still didn't know how deep Richard's influence ran. "It's enough to get warrants," Chun confirmed. "But we need to be careful. Richard's consortium has powerful connections. They've been using restaurants as fronts for artifact smuggling for decades. The Golden Lotus was their biggest frustration. They knew your parents were hiding something, but they never found it." My phone buzzed, interrupting the moment. Another text from the unknown number. * last chance for negotiations. The construction crew starts demolition tomorrow. Would be ashamed if any accidents happen during renovation. *. I showed the message to Chan. Her expression hardened. "He's getting desperate." "Good," she replied grimly. "Desperate people make mistakes. But we can't rush this. Your mother spent 15 years building this case. We need to see it through." A thought struck me then, sharp and sudden. "The restaurant," I said, turning back to Chan. "Mom's letter mentioned other hiding places. What if the Buddha wasn't the only thing hidden in those walls?" Chan nodded thoughtfully. "It's possible. Your father designed several safe houses for protecting artifacts. We never found all of them." Lucy pulled out her tablet, scrolling quickly. "The renovation crew starts at 9 a.m. tomorrow. They're gutting the entire interior." "Then we need to get there first," I said firmly. "One last sweep before they tear everything down." Chan raised a hand, caution etched into her features. "Not alone. If Richard's watching the restaurant, he'll expect you to make a move tonight. We do this by the book." Within an hour, a plan was in place. Lucy and I would return to the Golden Lotus with a police escort posing as family retrieving personal belongings before construction. Meanwhile, Chan would execute search warrants on Richard's office and home. "Remember," she warned as we left, "your mother's case is strong. But we need Richard to incriminate himself. If he contacts you again, keep him talking." The sun was setting as we arrived at the Golden Lotus. Two plainclothes officers posing as friends helped us carry empty boxes inside. Through the window, I spotted Richard's BMW parked down the street. He'd taken the bait. "He's here," Lucy whispered. "Now what?" "Now we give him a show." I spread out Mom's architectural plans under the work lights, making it look like we were searching for something. Lucy caught on fast, making a spectacle of measuring walls and tapping corners. The officers maintained their cover, pretending to pack up decorative items while discreetly recording everything. Right on cue, my phone buzzed. "Finding everything you're looking for?" I texted back, "You tell me, Richard. Mom left quite a paper trail." His response was immediate. "Don't be stupid, Emma. The Buddha alone is worth millions. Name your price." I hesitated, then typed, "How will I name yours instead? How much do they pay you to marry my mom? To spend 15 years pretending while you search for what my dad died protecting?" Minutes ticked by. Finally, his reply came. Your father was a fool. He could have made millions. But he chose to play hero. Your mother was smarter. She understood the game even if she played it badly. Did she? I pushed. 15 years, Richard. She knew what you were doing the whole time. A long pause. Then, last chance. Walk away now. The crew arrives at 9 a.m. Accidents happen during demolition. I was about to respond when Lucy grabbed my arm. "Emma, look." She pointed to a section of wall near the kitchen. Under our work lights, the wallpaper looks subtly different, almost unnoticeable unless you were searching for it. Another hidden panel. I exhaled sharply. "We move carefully. Make it seem like a routine search." Lucy ran her hands along the wall until she found it. A near invisible seam. This panel wasn't as elaborate as the one hiding the Buddha. It was designed for quicker access. Inside, we found stacks of notebooks. Mom's meticulous records of Richard's deals. But more importantly, there were photographs. Dozens of them, showing Richard and his associates handling stolen artifacts over the years. One of the officers needs to see these now, I said urgently. He snapped photos with a specialized camera, ensuring they were admissible in court. Suddenly, car doors slammed outside. Richard had arrived, with 3 men I didn't recognize. Back door, Lucy whispered. The officer shook his head. They'll have it covered. Stick to the plan. Keep him talking. The front door chimed as Richard entered, his men fanning out to block the exits. I tried to be reasonable, Emma, he said, his voice cold. I offered you a way out, but you're just like your mother, too stubborn to know when to fold. I kept my stance firm, shielding the hidden panel. Funny, I said evenly. I was thinking how much you still underestimate the women in this family. His expression darkened. Where is it? The Buddha, the records, everything Helen collected. Hand it over, and maybe my associates won't have to get involved. You mean your smuggling partners? I gestured to his men. Mom documented everything. Every meeting, every deal, every stolen artifact. A flicker of doubt crossed his face. You're bluffing. Am I? I shot back. 15 years, Richard. She played you. And now I have it all. Enough games. He nodded to his men. Search everything. Find what she's hiding. That won't be necessary. Detective Chen's voice cut through the tension. She stood in the doorway, officers behind her, weapons drawn. Richard Martinez, you're under arrest for conspiracy, trafficking in stolen antiquities, and the murder of Henry Chen. Richard's face went pale. You can't. We already did, Chen said coolly. Your office safe was very informative. Apparently, you keep better records than you should. As they cuffed him, he turned to me one last time. You have no idea what you've done. This goes deeper than you know. I met his gaze steadily. Oh, I know exactly what I've done. I finished what my parents started. And I did it using everything they taught me. Outside, the fog wrapped around the city, muffling the sounds of sirens as Richard was led away. Somewhere, the Jade Buddha waited to be returned to its rightful home. And for the first time in years, I felt the weight of my family's secrets finally lift. 1 year later, I stood before the newly transformed facade of the Golden Lotus, watching the morning sun catch the bronze dragon coiled around our sign. Today wasn't just a reopening, it was a rebirth. The Heritage House at the Golden Lotus. Lucy read aloud beside me, her voice tinged with pride. Your mom would love the irony. Turning a former smuggling hotspot into a cultural preservation center. The building had changed, but its heart remained intact. The restaurant still served Mom's recipes, ones I'd finally deciphered from the coded notes in her old accounting books. But upstairs, where secrets had once been hidden, we had built something new. A museum dedicated to preserving and showcasing Asian art and artifacts. Its state-of-the-art security system was designed by the best in the field. The first exhibit opens next week, I said, glancing at my phone. Detective Chun had arranged for several recovered artifacts to be displayed before they were returned to their rightful homes, including, of course, the Jade Buddha of Peace. I smiled softly, one last time before it went home. The past year had been a whirlwind. Richard's trial had exposed a vast art trafficking network, unraveling decades of corruption. Associates turned on each other, desperate for reduced sentences, leading to the recovery of stolen treasures worldwide. Detective Chun kept me updated every step of the way. In the end, Richard pled guilty, bargaining for a lesser sentence. But thanks to the meticulous evidence Mom had gathered over 15 years, he'd still spend at least 15 years behind bars, 1 year for every year he had betrayed her trust. Miss Chun, a voice called from the entrance. Jenny, one of our newest hires and a recent art history graduate, approached with an eager smile. The final inspection team is here. Inside, the space had been reimagined. The dragon mural remained, now the centerpiece of an exhibit celebrating traditional Chinese artistry. The hidden compartments Dad had designed were preserved behind glass, transformed into educational displays on art protection and smuggling history. The lead inspector signed off on our permits with a nod. Impressive security system, he remarked. We learned from experience, I replied, thinking of all the secrets those walls had once protected. As the team departed, I noticed a familiar figure seated at the bar. Detective Sandra Chun, dressed casually for once, sipped tea. Thought I'd stop by early, she said. Your father would be proud of what you've done. She slid a manila envelope across the counter. We found this in a false bottom of Richard's briefcase. Figured you'd want to see it. Inside was a photograph I'd never seen before. Mom and Dad on the Golden Lotus original opening day, looking young and determined. Dad had his arm around Mom, both laughing at something off camera. Turn it over, Chun suggested. On the back, in Dad's handwriting. Asterisk opening day with my heart and my hope. The Golden Lotus will be more than just a restaurant. It will be a legacy of preservation. A place where culture and family intertwine. Helen and I will build something that will outlast us both. Asterisk. Tears stung my eyes. They knew even then what this place could become. They laid the foundation, Chun said softly. You built something new on it. My phone buzzed with a news alert. The headline made my breath catch. International art trafficking ring dismantled. Final arrests made in multi-country raids. That's the last of Richard's network, Chun confirmed. Your mother's records mapped connections we didn't even know existed. Lucy appeared beside me, showing a live security feed on her tablet. Everything was running smoothly. Upstairs, the museum was ready for its first visitors. The first tour group arrives in an hour, she reminded me. School kids. I figured you'd want to handle this one. I nodded, remembering my own childhood in these halls, unaware of the legacy my parents were shaping. Now it was my turn to pass that history forward. The kitchen doors swung open, releasing the warm scents of ginger and garlic. Our new chef, trained by one of Mom's old line cooks, was preparing for the lunch rush. The menu blended tradition with modern creativity, just as Mom had always intended. Miss Chun. Jenny appeared again. There's someone here to see you. Says she's family. At the entrance stood Aunt May, Mom's younger sister, who had returned from China for the reopening. In her hands she held something unexpected. Mom's old recipe box, its wooden surface worn with age. She wanted you to have this, Aunt May said, pressing it into my hands. But only when you were ready, when you truly understood what the Golden Lotus means. Inside, beneath the handwritten recipe cards, lay a letter in Mom's familiar script. My dearest Emma, asterisk by now, you've uncovered our secrets and understood why your father and I chose this path. The Golden Lotus was never just about hiding treasures or exposing criminals. It was about preserving something far more precious, not just artifacts but the stories they carry, the culture they represent, the connections they forge between past and present. Asterisk. Asterisk, you have built something beautiful from the foundation we laid. You have honored our dream and made it your own. I'm sorry for the burden of secrets I placed on you, but I never doubted you would rise to meet it. You have your father's sense of justice and my determination. More importantly, you have your own vision, your own way of building bridges between tradition and innovation. Asterisk. Asterisk, take care of our legacy, my brave architect. Build something that will tell our story long after we are gone. Asterisk. All my love, Mom. I exhaled shakily, closing my fingers around the letter. Outside, the first tour group arrived, 20 eager fourth graders and their teachers. As I guided them through the museum, explaining the significance of each artifact, I felt my parents' presence in every corner. In the restaurant, customers filled the tables, old regulars and new faces alike, sharing stories over plates of carefully prepared food. Detective Chun stayed through the lunch rush, swapping tales about Dad with our older patrons. Lucy fine-tuned the security system one last time. Aunt May took over the kitchen for an hour, teaching our chef the proper way to fold dumplings to Mom's exacting standards. As the afternoon sun cast golden light through the windows, I stood in the center of what we had built. Not just a restaurant, not just a museum, but a living testament to everything my parents had fought to protect. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from the prison where Richard was serving his sentence. He was requesting a meeting, probably hoping to negotiate. I deleted it without replying. Some chapters were better left closed. Instead, I walked through the space, watching families share meals, children learn about their heritage, visitors connect with pieces of history long thought lost. The Jade Buddha would soon return home, but its story, and ours, would live on here. In the kitchen, Mom's old wok sat proudly displayed in a custom case, a small plaque beneath it. Asterisk in memory of Helen and Henry Chin, who built more than just a restaurant. They created a legacy of preservation, protection, and pride in our shared cultural heritage. Asterisk. The Golden Lotus had been many things. A hiding place, a battleground, a sanctuary. Now it was something more. A bridge between past and future. A place where heritage was not just preserved but celebrated. Lucy joined me at the bar, setting down 2 cups of jasmine tea. To the Golden Lotus 2.0, she said, raising her cup. And to the family that built it, I added, touching my cup to hers. Gazing around at the life filling this space, I felt a profound sense of peace. The hidden compartments were empty now, their secrets uncovered and their treasures returned. But the Golden Lotus had never just been about what was hidden. Its true legacy had always been in what it revealed. And so, under the watchful gaze of the dragon logo, I raised my cup high. To Mom, to Dad, and to the countless stories waiting to be told within these walls.